it is 6 p.m. on the 16th of September. I'm going to call this meeting of the Finance Committee to order. Present from the Finance Committee on the call are Bill Smith, Cheryl Burke, Mike Bennett, Frank Johnston, our newest member, Mike Rignetta, and myself. Ed E.J. Bryan is not present currently. Some housekeeping items to start with. This meeting of the Halifax Finance Committee is being recorded by Area 58. We have already announced the committee members that are in attendance, and we will be doing roll call votes for all items that need to be approved. So moving into our agenda for this evening, we are going to bypass the first agenda item, which is approval of committee meeting minutes. They were not completed in time for our call tonight. So we will hold that over till our next call. And we will do they would be, I believe they'll be out by the end of next week, I think, for us to read through and have any questions or corrections made before the prior meeting. Anybody have any comments or questions on that?
Nope.
Okay, on to our second item. I would like to officially welcome our newest committee member, Mike Rignetta, to the Finance Committee. Good to have you on board, Mike. It's good to have a full Finance Committee for the, for this fiscal year and moving forward, should you choose to continue with us. We're going to go over some of the assignments, the liaison assignments here shortly, and get you kind of ingrained in some of the lighter work before we get you to do any heavy lifting at this point. So, open it up to you, Mike, if you have any comments or anything you want to say before we roll through everything else.
Well, thank everyone for having me. I appreciate your support and coming on to the committee. Look forward to learning from you all, getting to know you all pretty well, and excited to hopefully, have some fresh input and some good input into what you guys have been doing. So thank you very much.
Good to have you on board, Mike.
Welcome, Mike.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Okay, so the next item we had was Hope for Halifax introduction.
So Jonathan just shot me a text. He said he'll be on around 6:15. He had something just come up. He had to pick up one of his kids from practice.
Okay, sure, not a problem. Okay, so let's do this then. Let's move to the reassignment of liaisons. So I'm going to share the last file that I have, which I think is the most recent one, and it took me a bit of digging to find it. So let me go in here.
Oh,
there's EJ.
Share. There's EJ. Hey,
Yeah, sorry I was late. We've been running around with medical stuff for my son today.
I'm sorry to hear that. Is he doing okay?
Yeah, he broke his nose, so we're
oh man.
I get him he's going into surgery on Thursday to get it all fixed up.
Okay.
Good.
Share this here. File. Nope. There we go. All righty, I think I'm sharing the correct file. Can everybody have a look? Make sure that we are looking at the right one, because I know there was some confusion the last time.
Yeah, that's the one that we had from a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Okay. So as it stands, I'm gonna take on the accounts that Todd had. Ed, you're still going to be working. Ed Bryan, you're still going to be working with conservation, Halifax, in lights, holidays in Halifax. Plus, you and I are going to kind of team up on the Halifax Elementary and Silver Lake Regional, along with Cody, to work through that budget, because that's going to take probably everybody's elbow grease on that one. Cheryl, I believe these are the same. I don't think anything really changes for you here.
Yeah, the same.
Mike, I took a couple of yours, Mike Bennett, and gave them to Mike. Housing Authority, Sealer of Weights and Measures, and Youth and Rec.
Okay.
Is that okay with you, or is there something you want to
Those weren't mine.
Too? What's that?
Those weren't mine.
Oh, oh, those were bills, I think.
These
No,
are bills.
uh,
So whose were those?
I didn't have those ones last year.
Okay. So Mike's going to get these 3 accounts.
Okay. They were nobody's. I'm glad I picked them up. Nobody had them.
Good job. Good job. Way to jump in there. Frank, you're going to keep the ones that you currently have: appeals board, planning board, building inspector, fire, and emergency management. Everybody okay with these? Any questions? Anybody want to move anything around? Anything you want to change? Somebody want to try something a little different?
Yeah, the appeals board and planning board I didn't have last year, so I'll take those, like you say, Jim, for a difference. For me, it'd be perfect.
Okay. Thank you,
I
Frank.
had the inspector, the fire, and emergency management last year.
Appreciate that, Frank. All right. So, if nobody has any questions, these are what we're going to go forward with. Cody, do we need to vote on these, or is this just a standing piece?
I think it's as long as you guys are all in agreement, there's no need to vote.
Okay.
Jim, are you gonna have that posted up on the OneDrive or?
I am. As soon as we're done with this
Okay.
call, I will get it up there for everybody.
Perfect.
Okay. Good.
And it'll be marked as such here with today's date
Okay.
in the header. So that's the file that we're working off of.
Okay.
All right.
Perfect.
Okay. So let's get out of this.
So with that, it may be worth looking at calendars, Jim, so we can get a joint meeting on the books with the Board of Selectmen to kick off the next budget season, because believe it or not, it's
Okay.
time to get that budget memo out to departments. And I think we did it in October last year. If that timeline worked well, I mean, you guys let me know what you think, but I thought that timeline worked well.
It did.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Me also.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Sooner the better.
Right.
So let's see, let me just pull up my agendas here.
Jim, while you're doing that, you and Cody sitting together on capital, correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. Thanks.
We'll be posting for a member at large too. We've been down a member since I've been here, actually. So we'll probably post that in the coming week or so. So if you know anyone that's interested,
Okay.
to submit a talent planning form for the capital planning committee.
Okay, cool.
Perfect.
Cody, does the committee have 2 at large or 1 at large?
It's 2 at large.
2 at large. Is the same gentleman from last year going to be there again this year?
Yeah, Mike Zarella.
Yeah,
My cousin.
that's your cousin? Okay.
Cousin by marriage, yeah.
Okay, so I think if we're looking at an October selectmen meeting, right now, we would probably look at the 21st. I'm sorry, 22nd.
Okay. Well, that's fine with me.
That works for me.
Does that work for everyone?
Works for me.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll plan on 6 p.m. and we'll just do a budget kickoff. So I'll get the draft budget guidelines out to you all the week before to review. I would anticipate it'll be very similar to last year. We'll ask all departments to do a level service budget and then also ask them to present a 10% cut budget. I think that may be more reality this year, unfortunately.
Right.
Cody, I guess not directly tied to this, but indirectly it is. How how's the town accountant search? I know it's not on the agenda now, so if we can't really get into discussions on it, that's fine, but do you think we'll have someone on board for this process moving forward?
Likely not.
Okay.
Oh,
So we have our interim, who will handle it. Most of this, the big picture budget stuff, I'll be handling, and I handled it last year as well. It's the more of the information, pulling together the information that we'll have to rely on Eric, our interim town accountant, and Lindsay, our assistant, has actually been phenomenal. She's been good about getting all the information together. So.
Okay, great.
Okay. So we've got the potential meeting on the 22nd of October. I'll post the spreadsheet on the OneDrive as soon as this call is done. We should be off to the races. So still, I don't see Mr. Seeley yet. So why don't we just go ahead and jump into the next agenda item, which is the year-to-date budget review. So I think Cody, you had sent out, or the budget for August, or the report for August has been sent out. Before I kind of go into that, does anybody have any questions or anything they would like to chat about with that budget?
Let me just preface, if you see accounts that show a negative, they're not negative. That is because some of the accounts, particularly their accounts that roll over year to year, so our articles, our capital accounts, with the lack of a full-time accountant, it's been one of the things that still needs to get done, is rolling over those accounts in our financial software to the new year. So the accounts, what's happened is there's some accounts where there's been spending out of this year where the money was appropriated in a previous year. It looks like we're negative, but it's just a record where it hasn't been rolled over. It's there, the money's there. So because I was going through initially and I'm like, wait a minute, there's no way we're negative here, something's wrong. And then I figured out they had been rolled over. So I talked to our interim accountant. He's actually going to take care of that tomorrow. So next budget status you guys get, we'll have all of that accurately represented.
Yeah.
cool.
All right. Frank, did you have something?
Yes, I did. On concerning highway, Cody, and Jim, it looks like that's all been cleaned up regarding the articles.
No, that's just because they haven't been rolled over yet.
Right.
Okay, I was wondering where they were at. Thank you.
They are.
I have, I think we tried to get Steven previously, and he had been unavailable. We will continue to try to get him in. We can see if he'll be available at the next meeting. But he does know that you guys had some questions regarding those accounts.
Okay. So when I look at the budget, 2 months, 60 days into the new fiscal year, I'm looking for a spend of between 15 to 18% of the allotted budget. I think that makes the most sense, right?
Yeah.
The couple of things that came up were we were way over that on a couple, and I'm hoping that either it's like a one-time spend that just will kind of balance out over the course of the year. That's one way that could work. Or it's, or we, had some kind of a miss when we were doing our planning. So I guess as an example, if we look at 199-5430, which is office supplies, which we budgeted $1,000 and we spent $10,000.
Do you have a page, Jim?
Yeah, that would be page 2.
Page
About-
2?
About 2/3 of the way down. 199 is office machines.
Yeah, so this again is more of a the way that our financial system, the way the records have been kept. The only thing that was appropriated was $29,500 for office machines. We don't appropriate. There's a few different line items there, right? 23,500 for postage, 4,000 for office machines maintenance, 500 for outside maintenance. That just got. It's a record issue. that really shouldn't be broken down like that. It should just be office machines. And you see, we've spent 10,389.90 on office supplies. That's really not the right category. We've spent 10,389.90 on office machines, the department as a whole, but it wasn't under office supplies. So sometimes what happens is when they put the invoices in, because it's one appropriation, they don't accurately reflect the subcategory of what they were. And so we ran into this with some of you guys last year with our when we were going through the budget process, and we were trying to determine where is the money actually being spent under what subcategory. And this is one of the issues with the software and the way it's being put in, because like I said,
Cody, not to interrupt, but that was because we put the money on the postage machine.
No, I know, I'm aware.
Yeah. Oh, I just didn't know.
It just wasn't allocated into the right subcategory.
Oh, okay.
So you can see here, like I said, we appropriate, Sue's right, we appropriated a larger amount in office machines to cover that postage. But Jim, like you mentioned, that it's basically applied under the incorrect subcategory.
Okay.
Yeah, they're coding it wrong.
It's an accounting error. Is that what we're saying?
I don't know if it goes as far as an error, because what the important thing is that town meeting appropriated 29.5 under office machines.
Yes.
The best way, in my opinion, to do it is just show an appropriation of 29.5 under office machines, and then show, how we're spending that. Historically, we've broken it down here. You can see under postage, maintenance, all of these things,
Right.
which is helpful if it's applied to the right subcategory, but it's not helpful in cases here it's not applied to the right subcategory.
Right. Okay.
Because
fair.
it's not accurate. So so when you see any of these departments, you're right, it's an issue in the accounting aspect of it. But as far as the fiscal concern, as long as we don't spend more than 29.5, because that's a total appropriation, we don't have an issue, because that was the way it was appropriated.
So they're just coding to the wrong category
Yeah.
when they enter it.
That's what it sounds like.
Yep.
Yeah.
So will the new software, the new setup that you guys are working on, will that resolve this issue, or will we still be dealing with these, these types of line items?
It should. Yes. So, and even you may notice if you pull a budget status this year compared to last year, there's less of these subcategories for this reason. Exactly. It's good if we're going to utilize it, because it can be a powerful tool in analyzing the data. But if it's not applied accurately, like we saw last year, there's really no value to it. Yes, but it still needs to be applied to the correct account. The idea is to just have less of these. So under office machines, maybe only having two, a postage, because that's a significant category, and equipment, or maintenance or something.
Yeah, so Cody, what you're saying is rather than the software itself helping it from a technical standpoint, what you're going to do is when the configuration is done, you're going to break down those subcategories a little bit more so that there's less to select from. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. Because like I said, it can be a powerful tool, but I think what has happened is there's been so many, you see all these subcategories, and people have just gotten into the habit of throwing an account in, because as long as it falls into that larger umbrella, there's no issue, because that's what the appropriation is. So just getting rid of as many of those subcategories as we can, so we're using accurate information.
Sure. Okay. So I'm gonna ask. I'm gonna beat this dead horse a little more. The ADA funding that we accrued for. So where is that tracked? Is that tracked in this sheet or somewhere else? And where are we at with that $500,000?
Yep. So that's one of those ones that hasn't rolled over yet, because that was a single appropriation. So you should see that in the next budget status. That will be. We've committed almost all of that 500,000 at this point.
Okay.
Scott had spent, I think 80 or so thousand, previously.
Right.
And then we have two ADA paving projects ongoing. One was in the sum of 190,000 and change that we signed a contract and they're working on now. You see over at the library and in front of the school over there. And then once they're done over there, they're going to shoot over and do some work over by the Council on Aging and the Water Department, and that's another 120,000, give or take. So the lion's share of that has been committed.
Okay.
But like I said, you'll see that in the next budget status because that'll be carried over.
Okay. So there was a plethora of recommendations or findings in that 192-page document. Does Steve have like any kind of plan for the rest of it? Does he need more funding? How is he going to schedule that, or is that going to be a capital expense that we'll discuss at a later date?
Yeah, so that will be part of his capital request. I've asked him to try to break that out over the next 5 years because we want all our departments to have a 5-year plan.
Right.
So he'll be working on that for submittal this year for additional funding. I think it's one of those things he's going to request whatever he can, whatever is available, but it's all going to come down to what our free cash looks like.
Fair point. Fair point.
Cody, can I jump back real quick? How is the ADA project up at the school and library trending as it relates to overall cost? Is it looking as if everything's on budget where it was supposed to be?
It is, yeah. They've been doing great. The contractor has done an excellent job. The contractor that the bid was awarded to came in under what our engineer estimated, which doesn't happen often anymore. Usually they come in over what the estimates are, and those are right on track. There was one change order for the library project, and that's because we extended the scope just a little bit to do some additional work in the parking lot, but it was a couple $1,000s. But that was because of additional work, not because of anything necessarily related to the unexpected cost or anything like that.
Okay, good. I wasn't sure if school starting back up was going to affect it negatively because of police needs or anything like that for safety and security, but that's good news then.
Yeah, it is.
Cody, in regards to the library's restrooms, was any of that ADA money used on that? So
No.
I see the portable units are gone from there, so I'm assuming the issue has been rectified.
We hope so. It's one of those things. Scott and his team have done an excellent job of doing everything they can, responding, but it's just like at all of your homes.
Yep.
If you throw children's toys and diapers down your toilet, you're going to have a plumbing problem.
Right.
And that's kind of exactly what happened at the library. We had the porta potties there. Scott and his team acted very quickly. They put in a separate changing room, hoping that would help it. If someone just needed to go in and change a diaper, they could use the changing room and then throw the diaper in the trash rather than the toilet. Knock on wood, it's been a few weeks. We haven't had any issues. Once the paving project is done over there, we're actually going to put a porta potty back over closer to the playground, because what we're seeing is most of the bathroom traffic at the library isn't library patrons. It's people that are on the playground.
Playground, yeah.
So we're hoping by doing that, we'll be able to reduce some of the volume in itself to the library bathrooms and keep the facilities operational there, and also provide a more closer restroom for the playground users.
Yeah, I like that idea, because the one that's set in the middle of the ball fields down there, it's not too convenient. You got to run down the hill, which isn't too bad. It's just to climb back up. But well, that's good then. So they put a separate change room within the building for the children's to be taken care of. Then is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense then, instead of using the restroom, and that should alleviate a lot of the problem over there with that.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
The goal.
Yeah, you're right, and it's a good idea.
That it is. All right. Well, so I'm going to hold off on the rest of my questions on the budget review, Cody, until we get the next one that has everything corrected in it.
Yeah.
Just to, make sure that I'm looking at it the same way everyone else is.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love, again, this kind of has to do with this. I'd love to sit down with you all individually we can go over this, but really want to start going over budget projections for 26.
Right.
Mhm.
I kind of made it you all known. I'm very concerned about fiscal 26.
Yeah.
And I just want to would like to get that information out to you guys, and start meeting with you because we're looking at a very, very challenging fiscal 26.
Be a skinny
Well,
year.
yeah.
Very
Yeah.
skinny. No, absolutely. And I think that's probably what we need to start focusing on here in the next, as we get toward the end of this year. So, and also just as a quick aside, so thanks for those email addresses to the other finance committee chairman. So I sent an email out to him. I got one response back. So I'm hoping to get another one back, from Kingston. So Plimpton's already responded. So we'll be getting, hopefully we'll kind of square something up and for the rest of the committee, I'm trying to reach out to the other finance committees for Kingston and Plimpton, specifically around the school budget, since we all share the same, the same concerns. We see the same numbers. I think it would be probably, just in my opinion, a little more effective and efficient if all the finance committees met with the school as like one kind of body. Instead of three different, they have to go to, and it doesn't, I'm considering everyone's time. It's not fun going from one meeting to the next meeting to the next, especially when there's a million questions that come up when you're trying to have that call or discussion in person. So if all the finance committees can be in one place and the school comes and, and Cody, the administrators are there, then we can all get our questions answered, and asked in the same kind of venue, and we can all understand what we're looking at. That's my goal, and I'm hoping it works out that way. And because I just think the collaboration between the towns would, from a finance perspective, would benefit the school and the towns in one, as one actor instead of three different ones.
Yeah, it would.
Absolutely.
Okie doke. So, any other questions on the budget review year to date? Very good. So, Cody, thanks for that information. Appreciate it and the feedback. So, we'll back up a couple of items on our agenda. And I see Mr. Steelig has joined us. So, I will then now turn the mic over to you, Mr. Steelig, for the Hope for Halifax.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me here on the Finance Committee. I know we have already spoken previous. Can you guys see me? Sorry, I just lost you for a second.
Yeah, you're frozen.
Yeah, you froze up there a
frozen.
little bit.
Frozen screen, John.
Yeah, what's going on there? Sorry, I had you right until I wasn't. Can you see me now?
Just frozen.
Still frozen.
What's going on here? Let me see if I stop the video and start it again. I apologize, guys. It was working fine up until I had to go here. How about now?
There
Oh,
you
that's
go.
good.
There you go.
All right, good. The old turn it off, turn it back on trick. So I am reaching out to you guys as a member of Hope for Halifax, and Hope for Halifax is Halifax's opportunity to preserve and enhance. We're a ballot question committee that's been started to try to educate people about the Community Preservation Act, which will be question 6 on your November ballot. I have emailed you folks information as far as the PowerPoint presentation. It's been updated. And honestly, the main reason I wanted to meet with you guys here was twofold. Number one, I know we have a new member. Mike, welcome to the committee. And secondly, the numbers have changed just a little bit, and we have some newer information. So I can just kind of skip to that newer information if you'd like, or I have trimmed down the PowerPoint. So it's up to the committee as to what they would like. Would you like me to I don't want to say whip through the presentation, but I can go through a presentation quickly, or just skip to kind of the newer information if that's what you'd prefer.
I think it makes sense to go through it all quickly.
Okay.
Just because of we've had change in structure over the past couple months. So
Okay. Awesome. If I hit share my screen, am I allowed to share screen here, guys?
You should be.
Okay, let's see here.
Can't wait.
Right. I'm hitting the share button.
There it is.
You guys getting that?
Yep.
Yep.
There we go.
All right. Some of this is going to look a little familiar, but I swear there are some new pieces to this. Let me just minimize that there. All right. So Community Preservation Act, for those that don't remember or are new to the board, is a state program. It allows communities like Halifax to establish specific funds to basically 4 areas of importance. The 4 areas are historic preservation, open space, recreation, and affordable housing. So how do these funds get collected? So Halifax voted at town meeting in May to put on the ballot a possible 1.5% annual contribution to your local property taxes. So the new number, it now boils down to about $88 for the average Halifax resident. And there are exemptions, and I'll get to those exemptions. When they're calculating your home's assessed value, they take $100,000 off your assessed value of your property. So when they're doing the math, and I'll show you guys the math in a couple of slides here, let's say your house is valued at $500,000. Well, according to CPA, it's valued at $400,000. So that's a little bit to help ease the burden. There's also low income and moderate to low income exemptions for seniors. So some of the folks that I've spoken with are worried, hey, Jonathan, my income isn't what it used to be. I can't really swing it. Well, the great part about this is it has baked in exemptions that help those folks that truly can't afford it. So that's exciting. And then you'll also get, if you have a regular property tax abatement, that'll also get a prorated reduction in the surcharge as well. So any questions so far before I go to math?
Mhm.
No? Okay. All right. So here's our new math, guys. So our new single family home, the value has changed. So the new single family average home in Halifax, you'll see on the left-hand side there, is $511,243. The tax rate that is being proposed for our new fiscal year per 1,000 is $14.28, which is actually down about 12 cents from last year. So your average property tax bill, and that's C, you'll see there on the left-hand side, for the average resident in Halifax is $7,300.55. So how do you figure out your sample bill if we add the CPA program? So as I said, you'll see there in row D, we take that $100,000 and we make that $511,000 home and we knock it down to $411,000. We then calculate that tax rate. So instead of the original home price, we use the new home price, and that would be $5,872. It is then that number that we put the CPA surcharge of 1.5% to that number. It's not to your entire value of your home. That's where some folks were getting confused. It's to your tax bill, not your tax value, your tax bill. So the average home in Halifax, again, average, some are more, some are less, is $88.08. So if CPA passes in November, you're looking at a CPA bill of $7,388.63, which breaks down to 24 cents a day for the CPA program. So this is the new information, and we wanted to make sure we got it to you guys. Exemptions. As I said, we had folks concerned that they couldn't afford to bring CPA to Halifax. Well, we've checked with the Department of Housing and Urban Development, and these are the exemption numbers. So bottom line, guys, let's say you're a resident, you live by yourself, you are over 60 years old, you can make up to $76,000 and not have to pay. You are exempt from this program. So you do not have to kick in. So basically, we use this chart, the number of people in the home on the left-hand side there, they all don't have to be over 60. Just one of the residents is over 60. Let's say you're in a home with 4 people and one of your residents is over 60. You can make, if you look at the chart, you can make $109,900. You're still exempt from CPA. Obviously, they're a little stricter with the under 60 group. you're in a home, let's say you're a family of four, they're under 60 years old. That family of four can make $87,920 and not have to kick into CPA. So again, we want to get this out to the people that if you truly are having a hard time making your tax bills each year, there's a very good chance you could be exempt to this program. And the great part about that, guys, is that while you're exempt from paying into the program, you're not exempt from reaping the benefits. You know, let's say we build a walking trail. You get to enjoy that walking trail and not have to kick into the construction because you're exempt from this program. You know, and I don't want to just say walking trail, it could be anything. But folks that are concerned that they can't afford it and they don't make enough money, well, there's a good chance you don't have to kick into the program, but can still reap the benefits of what CPA can do for Halifax. Any questions on that one?
Jonathan,
Yes, go ahead, Cheryl.
I'm over 70.
I'm
and
not going to ask
really
your age. I would never ask your age,
Oh,
Cheryl.
I'm just telling you all of that, yeah.
All right.
Every year, would I have to file an application in the assessor's office for this?
Yes, because
Along with the other one.
Cheryl, you could hit the lottery, and then wait a minute there. Cheryl's got $1 million now, and not what she used to have. So yes, it is an annual exemption filing with the assessor's office.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
It's truly the only way to keep track. If you try and do, set one, file it once and then you're good. As we all know, lives change. So that might not be the case the following year.
Okay.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So how much would we collect? There's 2,800 tax bills in Halifax, $88 a bill per average. We're looking at raising for community investment projects $246,000, $246,400. That's based on an average contribution. And guys, I can't stress this enough. That's just money we raise here in Halifax. That doesn't include the state match, which is really why most towns participate in this program. I've showed you guys this before. I just want to make sure Mike has seen this.
So a quick question.
Go ahead.
Do you have any idea of the number of exemptions you would expect? Because if that's total tax bills minus exempted people, correct?
Yeah, I have to be honest, Mike. The CPA program from the state does their magic calculation. So this is from them. This is their state thing. And I know they must look at demographics. They must look at population, ages and stuff. This is from the state. I will be completely transparent. This is not a number we came up with. This is a number that the Community Preservation Commission in studying Halifax estimated our annual, what we would raise in this program.
So ours could be lower or higher, correct?
Correct. Yeah, no, again, I can't stress it enough. It's a ballpark.
Jonathan, Frank here.
Yes. Yeah, hey, Frank.
2,800 tax bills in
Yes.
the town of Halifax. That's the total number of residential properties and commercial properties and industrial properties.
Correct.
Many.
And of that 2,800, how many of those are exempt for other reasons when it comes to property taxes within Halifax?
You know what, Frank? That's a great question. I'll be honest, I'm not sure. I can ask our assessor tomorrow and try and get an exemption number for you.
Yeah, because there are some exemptions that go on within the limits of Halifax.
Oh, sure. I don't want to assume here, but as I said, the state looks at our numbers and gives every community that's trying to put CPA out their best guess.
Sure,
So
I
again,
understand that.
This is their best guess.
I actually thought that the 2,800 tax bills was somewhat low.
Yeah. So, that's again, it could be higher or lower, guys, but I just to give you a ballpark range, to kind of wrap your head around.
Thank you.
All right. So I've shown you this map before, but I wanted to make sure Mike, as a new member, saw it. These are the communities in southeastern Massachusetts that are part of CPA. As you can see, we are in the extreme minority. It's essentially us there in the yellow. East Bridgewater, Brockton, Avon are the only ones there in that map that are not part of CPA. The rest have been part of the program, many for decades. This is money that towns have collected throughout the life of the program. Again, this is not money I want to make this clear. This is not money that the town has collected from their residents. This is state money that has been given to the towns. So our neighbors in Kingston have received almost $3.2 million. Our little neighbors, Plimpton, have received $363,000. Town of Bridgewater, Carver, there's some substantial state money there that unfortunately we've left on the table. And the annual state contribution match over the last 5 years has been 26.6%. It does fluctuate. We get money, the state collects money on property deeds and titles. That's how they kind of fund the program. So it does fluctuate with the housing market and real estate. It's been higher, it's been lower, but over the last 5 years, the average has been about 26%.
So all this money, Jonathan, that the state provides comes from deeds and titles and not from any other taxes that a resident may pay for something. Is that correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Because
Yep,
that's a
that is
lot of
correct.
confusion out there that you see.
Yeah.
Amongst people. Oh, I'm already paying that in my property taxes.
Yeah.
That's an incorrect statement then, because it's from deeds and titles at the courthouse on the sale of property, correct?
Correct. That is correct, Frank. And then the state takes that money, they put it into a community preservation trust fund. They try to grow that money, as much as they can. And that is where they get their matching funds to give back to the communities and towns.
Understood.
Yeah. All right. So to touch on what Frank said, what are the differences between CPA and standard taxes? Well, the money that Halifax raises through CPA, we get an annual state contribution. Again, that's why the majority of towns in the program do it. We decide how the funds are spent. I'll get to it in a slide down the road, but everything CPA spends goes through town meeting. So we, the residents, we, the people, get to decide what CPA projects we want to pass. Another big part of this is Cody will tell you there's a lot of state and federal grants that are out there that require us to put up matching funds to be eligible for those grants. We can use CPA money for matching funds to kind of put us in the ballpark for some of these bigger grants that we would have to kick in. We wouldn't have to go to the taxpayer for additional money for matching funds for those federal and state grants. The funds go to typically underfunded and unfunded projects. These are the projects that get kicked down the road that we say, well, we'd love to do it, but we just don't have the funds. You guys have looked at the books, that times are tough. So these projects, unfortunately, just get kicked down the road and oftentimes become bigger problems because they've been neglected, because they've been underfunded or unfunded, and they become bigger thorns in our side. The funds that we have do accrue interest, which is great. And then there's no obligation to spend in a year. Let's say we decide, you know what, Halifax, we don't want to spend anything this year. We're eyeing a project in 2 years. We think this property is going to become available and we want to buy it. We're going to hold off. So there's no obligation from the state that says, hey, you have to spend this, in any given year. If we want to hold it, we can hold it.
Jonathan.
All right, go ahead.
What question? I think this may be my last one of the night.
Go for it, Frank.
MBTA 3A, if that thing all goes southbound and then the state says, well, we're going to cut your funding. Is this one of the programs that would be cut by them? Can they hold this money back?
Not that I have heard, Frank, not that I have seen anywhere listed anywhere. I mean, we know the state, things can change in a New York minute, but this is one of the most secure funds that the state has had in its 24 years. So I would be shocked, but I have not seen anywhere that the state is considering pulling CPA funding for communities that may or may not be in compliance for the MBTA zoning.
Right. Okay.
It would require an amendment to Mass General Law, because CPA was created through Mass General Law, let's see, Chapter 44B. So, and that defines everything, says who's eligible. So if there were to be a change in eligibility from state funds, not to say it couldn't happen, but it would require the legislature to do such a thing.
Okay, so it's pretty well protected then, Cody, from the rest of that funding that the state can provide for roads or other funds for different things, correct?
I don't trust them.
I mean, I think, I don't, I mean, I see where you're, to the best of my knowledge, right? I mean, I don't know how secure it is. I'm not going to say it's secure, but it's not something that the governor, for instance, could just go through and change, or Department of Housing and Community Development could go in and just say change. It is Mass General Law, so it would take an act of the legislature to amend.
Right.
But they could do that. You know, I'm not saying that.
They could.
I don't think they would, but they could do it. But it's not something that could be done through a state agency. So like right now, a lot of these discretionary grants, right, they're administered through state agencies, and they're discretionary in the sense the state agency has that discretion. So if it's an agency that falls under the executive office, that's why the governor is able to, through the agencies, say, okay, you know, if you don't comply, you're no longer going to be eligible because there's discretion there. There isn't really discretion with this. It's all in the text of the general laws. So it would require amendments of that.
Okay, thank you.
And I do, just to touch on that, I do see people trying to link the two, the new MBTA housing ordinance and CPA. This CPA program has been around since 2000 with Governor Cellucci. So this is not tied to the MBTA plan. I've heard people try to make connections to the two. It's been around for quite some time, for 2.5 decades. So it's not tied. I hope people understand that they're two very separate animals. So just wanted to put that out there.
That's kind of why I was asking that question, Jonathan.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. All right, so if it passes in November, on the November ballot, what's next? So the town of Halifax would have to develop a bylaw that establishes a community preservation committee, basically a committee to handle how our CPA fields proposals from residents. We would vote on that CPC bylaw at the May 2025 town meeting, and we would have to come up with a community preservation plan, basically what we plan on using CPA for. And I believe where our first assessment would be 1125 for this plan. Next. All right, how are funds managed and dispersed? So the CPC, the committee we create, would review and facilitate all the proposals they receive. Joe Smith wants to submit an idea for, hey, I would like CPA funds to be used for this project. They collect all those. All of the funds that we would get would have to go in 3 separate categories. One is historic preservation, one is open space and recreation, the other is affordable housing. At least 10% of the monies has to remain in each of those buckets. And then the remaining 70% we could spend as we see fit in any CPA approved program that we would like to do.
Jonathan, I have a question on this part of it. Do you know any, and I don't know that this is happening anywhere or could happen anywhere, but do you know of any other communities that do this, that in addition to the committee that they've formed to kind of oversee the management of the list of projects coming in, have they ever put the projects out for vote by the community as a whole to see what projects get done versus having that decision be made just by the committee itself?
Oh, no, EJ, I'm glad you brought that up. So when the committee decides which ones they like, I hate saying decide, they make recommendations, much like you guys make recommendations at town meeting. The things they facilitate and the ones that they think are good ideas, they will make recommendations at town meeting, EJ. They do not have any other power than you and I, but they will bring it to the town meeting floor, and then the residents will vote whether or not they want to see that project go forward, right? So they're not essentially saying, yes, this project's going to be what we want. It's a recommendation that's going to be presented. It's not an edict, I guess.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So that committee that we just spoke of, since there are kind of 4 different arms to this program, they like to have 4 different folks that are connected to those arms. And this comes from the state. It has to have a member of the Conservation Commission, which would be tied to your open space. We have someone from the Historical Commission. There's your history. We have somebody connected to the Housing Authority. That's your housing aspect. We have someone connected to the park, a park commissioner, and there's your recreation, and then a member of the planning board. So those 5 members have to be on the CPC. We as a town could decide to have up to 4 at-large members. Anybody, inside town hall, outside town hall, any resident in Halifax that's interested in being part of this committee, we as a town can decide how many members at large we'd like to add to it. It has to be at least 5 people. It can't be more than 9. And what do? So everybody good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So they receive the review and they consider all the requests. They make their recommendations at town meeting through various articles. I mean, if it's one project, it's one article. If it's 2, 3, 4 projects, it's 4 articles. And then we as the people decide, we as the people think that's a good idea, it's a good project, or no, we don't. If it gets shot down, the money stays in the bucket. And we don't lose any funding or anything. It just carries over until the next year. So really quickly, I know we've been over this before. Some of the projects that could have qualified. The big one for me that got me involved in community preservation was HOPS. When I was trying to start that committee and redo our playground, all the communities around me said, "What are you doing? Just use your CPA money." And that's when I unfortunately found out Halifax was one of the few communities left that doesn't do it. So it took us 7 years of fundraising. If we were a CPA community, we'd have had that thing built in a year or 2. So we had a whole generation of kids that really didn't have a playground here in town. My kids, by the time the playground was done, they were too old to use it. So it insulates us against things like that. We did put some money into the walking trail. We did have a gaga ball pit. Those are just a few. And then if we wanted to do some projects down the road, we could use it for community gardens. We could build a dog park if we wanted. We can fix those tennis and basketball courts that are pretty rough shape. And we could, again, revamp our walking trail, which is, again, needs some love. We could also rejuvenate Town Beach. If anybody's been down to the Lincoln Street Beach, it's a great spot, but it does need some love. Another big part, you guys just talked a little bit about it in your meeting, is ADA compliance. We have to be ADA compliant with our sites in town, and the state is giving us a deadline to get those fixed. So you can use CPA funding to get ADA compliant at the beach. You can use it for land acquisition. If there's a property in town that we want to keep open, we could pool our money from CPA and we could purchase that land and keep it undeveloped. And we also have the right of first refusal, which is great. So we have first crack at properties when they become available. Historic things, the blacksmith shop, we repaired that. As of right now, that's still unsafe to go into. You guys have been to holidays in Halifax lately. Unfortunately, we can open it. We just can't let anybody go in it. So we could restore that. And then a project they did back in the mid to late 90s was they actually moved the Brockton store. They had a big parade, a big celebration. So that moving of the Brockton store, we could have used CPA money for that as well. Other projects that can qualify, we can, again, do the blacksmith and schoolhouse restoration. We can, this is a big one that a lot of towns are using CPA money for, is digitizing historic documents. We have a lot of cool, really old historic artifacts in the Halifax Museum. We need to get those digitized. We need to get those preserved so that they'll live on the interwebs forever. So you can use it for that. We have a lot of great, cool old cemeteries that are, starting to fall apart. We can look to just, restore those if the town so choose. And then housing. I know people hear this here in Halifax and the fur goes up on their neck. But I want to make this clear. There are some great housing programs out there, guys. It's not, we're going to build 3-decker story buildings, and we have a lot of say into what housing program we would like to get behind. One thing that I'm a fan of, if there's any open space that we could make into senior housing or veterans housing, we could rehabilitate existing vacant homes. There are things that we can do to help maybe some of our less fortunate or more in need members of the community. And I think personally, I don't want to speak for the committee, but I think that would be a great thing to get behind for the housing aspect of this project. And again, I'll say again, anything we present has to be okayed at town meeting. All right, these are, Cody had given me some 5-year capital plan purchases down the road that, you know, we'd need that would be available. I'm sorry, that would be eligible for CPA. There's your town hall exterior. Somewhere down the road, we're going to have to get town hall up and running. You guys have been looking at the outside of the building, especially on the second floor. It's in pretty rough shape. So there's $750,000 for that. The courts we talked about are just really rough. You know, we're going to have to do those. We're going to need an open space and recreation plan for which way the town wants to go. And then the blacksmith shop, as I said. So that's really all I had. I wanted to go faster, guys. I apologize because I know you've seen most of this before, but we did have some new numbers. And if you had any more questions or wanted any more information, the Halifax Opportunity to Preserve and Enhance has launched a website. We are answering questions via email. We've tried the social media thing and it just goes off the rails. So we're having people email us questions, and then every question we receive, we are going to reply and then post those. So basically like a bulletin board to get the information out. And then I will say the state's website is excellent. Check out communitypreservation.org. It is really well done. You can find any question you have about CPA is there. And it's pretty easy to navigate too. So any questions at all about that, feel free to check out the communitypreservation.org page.
John, could you back up one slide, please?
I will. This one right here?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, next one up.
Next one back? This one?
Yeah. So I just have a question. I'm just looking for some clarity here, and I want to make sure I understand this.
Sure thing.
So let's just hypothetically, you know, say that the restoration of the blacksmith shop has been approved.
Sure.
And then the committee allocates $50,000. We go in and we do our thing.
The committee doesn't allocate it, Jim. The town
Okay, the town
votes to do
does.
it.
Okay.
Yep.
So once that restoration is done, the
Sure.
following year, maintenance needs to happen.
Sure.
That falls to the town is then burdened with that cost. Yes.
Yeah.
Correct. This plan cannot be used for maintenance. This
So
plan is not
anything that we pay for, recreation courts, $500,000. They
Sure.
need to be maintained the following year or 2 years down the road.
Yeah, who's
The
gonna do
town
that?
has to budget for that, right? So
Sure.
that's because I don't see that mentioned in here anywhere.
No,
Yeah.
not at all, Jim. But I will say the life of a basketball court is about 20 years anyway. I know they just redid the tennis
Okay.
courts up at the high school. So
Sure.
maintenance will still, it always falls on the town budget, but
Sure.
things run out of life. You know, there are things
I
that,
don't doubt that. I don't
Yeah.
doubt that. I think, but we need to be clear.
oh,
that
sure.
This is a great plan for, you know, getting things up and running.
Correct.
But, you know, when it comes to keeping them running, you know, then the town has to go find the money to do it.
Right.
Correct. Yeah. No, we're not changing the structure of maintenance costs here.
Uh-huh.
We're
That's
preventing things from falling into such disrepair that they can't be fixed, you know? So I think that's the difference between the two.
Yeah, I just thank you for that. That's
Yeah,
the
no
question
problem.
that I had.
No problem. So yeah, I'll open it up to questions. If anybody has any questions at all about the program or you know, anything for me, I just wanted to make sure, again, you guys are kind of our bookkeepers here in town. You guys are folks, I'm sure that people ask, hey, what's the deal with this? What's going on with that? I just wanted to make sure that you guys had the most up-to-date information. And if you had any questions whatsoever before November, I could clear them up for you.
Cheryl?
Gerald does.
Who will be administering the funds?
Who will be administering the funds?
Right.
So they're voted on at town meeting, and
Okay.
Cody, maybe that's a question for Cody. Once we vote on it, Cody, does that kind of fall in the town administrator's lap to make sure that it's seen through?
No, you would have, so it depends on the project. You would, if it's a town entity, right? So for instance, if our recreation department apply, or a better one is our town clerk applies for a grant through CPA to fund restoration of historic documents, then that's something, you know, we'd work internally to handle. But if it's, let's say, a nonprofit, an environmental group, you know, get some funding to do a trail through some property, a grant contract gets put in place with the town, the committee would approve the grant contract. And then, as they submit invoices and stuff, like any other project through the town, they have to submit invoices to the town accountant, and those would get paid through the
Okay.
town. We would submit that. So we wouldn't just cut a check and say, all right, here here's $100,000,
Yeah,
make
right.
it work. They have to submit the documentation, and we'd have a grant contract. It specifies things like time frame, procurement, all different things. And then there's the application process itself. The committee would have to come up with. So a lot of towns do a short form application, a long form. Any projects under $20,000, it's a short form. Because, for a project that's not of significant size, there's no need for kind of all this documentation. And then you may say for anything over $20,000, you want to have a long form application, which may include letters of support, detailed plans. How does this fit with the goals of the town, right? If we have a master plan, how does this align with the town's master plan? How does this align with the Board of Selectmen's goals? You can also have questions like Jim mentioned. Is this going to impact the town's budget? And is there funding to sustain this type of project long term? Things like that. Those are all things the committee will take into account when applications are considered.
Okay, thanks, Cody.
No problem.
All right. That's all I had for you guys. Yeah, again, check out our website, see what we had. If the committee so chose, you could take a vote of support or non-support. I'll leave that up to you guys. But I just wanted to make sure that you guys, again, had all the information. And if you didn't have any ways to either get it or to get a hold of us to get the information.
Okay, very good, sir.
All right.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you,
Bye,
John.
guys. Yep. Take
Bye.
it easy.
All right.
Mm.
Okay, good stuff. So I think everybody got the PowerPoint from John today. So let's take the next couple of days, go through it, just read through it, and we can talk about a vote at our next meeting.
Okay.
Right.
So into our next agenda item, line item transfer requests. I don't think I saw any. Cody, I don't think you have anything floating around.
No, you can actually take those off of the agenda.
Okay.
We can only do those in May, June, and July. So
Cool. We will do
that
that.
won't be coming back around until then.
Next, yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. Next item, correspondent or as may arise. I think I've apprised everybody of what I'm doing or what I'm trying to get done with Kingston and Plimpton. I have not received any correspondence for the Finance Committee specifically. Cody, anything from your end that you've seen?
No, not on my end. I've had a few meetings with my counterparts in Plimpton and Kingston. We're actually getting together tomorrow for a meeting to address some internal controls and things that we can do with the schools. So I'll update you guys on how that goes. But I think it should be a productive meeting.
Very good, sir. Thank you.
Jim, I
and-
just got one thing. Cheryl, looks like Cheryl's got her hand up too.
Go ahead,
So
Cheryl. Sorry.
ladies first.
Interested in going to that conference in November?
November 2nd.
Yes, I'm interested.
So, okay. So, do you have an
think
account
we
with
could
with the municipal?
I do. I could just register. I just wanted you to know I was going to sign.
Oh, perfect.
Okay.
So I've already done that. I think Mike's also done that himself.
I have, yeah, I'm
Um,
registered. Thanks, Cody.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
it
I'm
should
on
be
there,
very
too.
interesting this year, I think.
Yes.
That's a great course. I've heard a lot of good things about it. Karis North is one of the attorneys that is presenting.
That's a good job.
She's really, really knowledgeable on just municipal finance and municipal law. She's knowledgeable on 40B and she's good. And then just the networking aspect of it, you guys, I think will find very helpful.
Yeah.
So if anyone else wants to sign up and you don't have an account or you have any issues, just let me know. I can sign you up. It's pretty simple on my end.
Okay.
Perfect. Frank?
Yes, thank you. I'm going to kind of direct this toward Cody a little bit. I've seen the smaller yellow buses running around town. I'm assuming that's part of the school's new program. They've got a couple buses out, or at least one that I know for sure. Maybe more. Do you have any insight?
They have, I don't know the exact number, Frank, but as part of that kind of teaming up, I think Sarah mentioned it when she was here, rather than a passenger vehicle or one of those
Right.
7-passenger buses picking up one student in Halifax and bringing them to Kingston. They're trying to use the smaller, I think they're like 15 or 20 passenger yellow buses that are picking up multiple students. Every situation is different. Every student has different needs and requirements. But if they're able to, they're picking up multiple with these buses and therefore cutting down on the amount of vehicles. So the unit cost is higher because it costs a little more to run one of these buses. But if we're trading in one of these for, let's say, 3 or 4 of the others, it's quite cost effective.
Yeah, I was wondering if we could maybe hear from them regarding how that program's working and what the cost savings is to Halifax associated with that.
It might be worth giving them another, couple months, because
Right.
we're only a couple weeks into the school year, making sure it works. But it's certainly something maybe in like November we could try to circle back with, and then I think that way they have a couple months of solid data,
Right.
that hopefully they can share at that point.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, comments about the agenda this evening, the information we have, or anything for Cody?
Nope.
All right, perfect. Next agenda item, public participation. For any members of the public? I don't believe I see any. Okay, so moving on from that agenda item, back to next meeting planning. The next meeting we have is October 7th. So we're going to be moving into our first and third Mondays of each month meetings. So I believe Katie has those already scheduled out for us. Once we get into the new year, probably much more frequently as budget season is upon us very quickly. Everybody okay with the 7th?
Yeah.
Sir.
Very good.
Yep.
EJ?
Yeah, I just said yep.
Okay. Sorry,
Sorry.
sir.
And
No
then,
worries.
and tentatively the 22nd of October, and we'll
The
Sure, that
22nd. Well, we have a meeting on the 21st, right? Our regular meeting would be the 21st, and then, or are we going to combine the meetings, Cody, for the 22nd?
Go ahead. I mean, that's up to you. Whatever you think. I don't see why not. I think, the goal, well, what, let me you could probably combine them. What I'll try to do, Jim, is let me get a draft working of the budget memo for this year. And I am out of the office the next 2 weeks, but I'll try to get it out before the 7th meeting. And then we'll put that on the 7th agenda. And that way, if you have any initial feedback prior to the joint meeting, you can give it to me then.
Okay.
And I can make adjustments if needed.
Okay.
Just so I guess I don't see why you can't combine just do one meeting on the 22nd. And then if you guys wanted to go into, you could either start before the selectmen, and if you
Right.
had to do your own, business, or you could do the opposite, meet with the selectmen and then go into your meeting afterwards. I won't be able to attend. If you did it beforehand, I can attend, but it's up to
Roger
you.
that. All right, team. Do you want to combine everything for the 22nd? Or do we want to keep our meeting separate for the 21st and on Zoom?
I'm good with combining it.
Yeah, I'm indifferent either way.
Yeah.
Works.
I can go either way.
Cheryl?
Yeah, well, I'll combine it.
Cheryl, does that work for you?
Yes, combining it would be fine.
Okay. So, Katie, please take note of that, and we will combine the meeting with the 22nd and cancel the meeting on October 21st.
Okay, do you want to do it before or after, just so I can adjust?
I don't know, guys. What do you think? Well, EJ, you're coming out of Boston, aren't you?
Yeah, but I can make arrangements if I need to. That's not a problem. The only
Okay.
question that I would have would be from a public standpoint, does this affect our ability to record and get that published if we do it before or after in the same venue where there's another meeting happening?
No, as long as we let Area 58 know, they're fine with it. They'll be good with it. So we would just do it, one of the other rooms. So
Okay.
the
Yeah,
selectmen will
so-
probably be in the Great Hall. So if you guys wanted to meet in the selectmen meeting room
Right.
beforehand, we'll let them know and they can be there to
Okay.
record.
So
Yeah,
why don't we do it beforehand?
yeah, perfect.
And so it's 6 p.m. on the 22nd. So 5 p.m. on the 22nd.
Sounds good.
Sounds
Sounds
good.
good to me.
All right. So 5 p.m. on the 22nd at the town hall, and we'll meet in the selectmen's meeting room.
Sounds good.
Like a plan.
Perfect. Okay, so October 7th via Zoom, as usual. October 22nd at the town hall in person. That'd be great.
Cody, I am monopolizing the selectmen meeting room
Oh,
for
yes,
2
you
weeks.
are. We'll figure it out. That's fine.
Well, we know we can't meet in the IT room. All right. So that concludes the agenda for this meeting. So thank everybody for jumping on. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Thank you,
Second.
Mike.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call vote. Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes to adjourn.
Mr. Bryan,
Yes.
Mr. Rignetta,
Yes.
and I'm a yes also. Thank you everybody for
And
joining
I'm a
this
yes
evening.
too.
Yeah, Cheryl.
Sorry, Cheryl. My fault.
You went through all the misters. You went through all the misters. And
God,
Ms.
me,
Burke?
boy, oh boy. That's fine. I'm good.
Okay. Thanks everybody.
Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good night.
Take care.
Night.